Russell. I'm 59 years old, and this is my story. Well, with my family, at a young age, my mother, there was no father figure. My mother was a severe heroin addict. And my life from birth to 8 years old was basically sitting underneath the cabinet hiding while all these naked people were partying and having these just drug parties, and watching them take my mother and putting her in the shower and putting her in the snow and bringing her out of overdoses. And at 5 years old, that really kicked me in the butt. Well, at 8 years old, to undo circumstances, my mother ended up off the back of a motorcycle and spent time in the hospital in a coma until they took her off life support. I was 8 years old. I did not know what death was at the time. I didn't know what or who God was. My first introduction to God was an elderly lady ripping me out of bed at midnight, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Boy, pray to God for your mama." And I didn't know why. And I still have not come to terms that she died. She just disappeared. She was gone. One day she was there, one day she wasn't. Well, in the process, me and my little brother ended up in a foster home. My sisters ended up in a different foster home. Well, the foster home in Nevada that I was in, they would sit us on the front porch while all the other kids ate at the table, and they'd bring us a bowl of dog food. And that's what they fed us. I'd be held down on the ground by 6 to 8 kids. I had a crew cut, and they'd rub my head and yell, "Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy has no hair." Hence my long hair now. My grandmother finally found us through the help of a couple of governors. Her ex-husband was a Green Beret, and he went to the military. And for some reason, the state of Nevada was hiding us from my grandmother. Well, she found us, and she figured it would be better if we was around family, so she brought us to Portland. At 8 years old, I was enrolled in 3rd grade into Lent school. My aunts and uncles, bless them now, but they were avid drunks, drug addicts, drug dealers. It was their way of life. But as a child, I didn't recognize that. We'd go on outings, and they'd have us water tomato plants, which I found out later on is not tomato plants, but that was the life they took us to. They'd take us to the fields, and we'd pick fruit, and they'd take our tickets so they could buy their drugs. My grandmother, after a couple of years or so, came up and got us and took us to Arizona. We kidnapped my sister because she was given half custody to the tribals because she was half native. but we knew we'd never see her if we didn't take her. So for 18 years of her life, we jumped from state to state, just hiding. She had a dual birth certificate. My grandmother was a remarkable lady. She took on a set of the second kids after her first set. In the process, my life got better. There was no drugs. My grandmother was an avid alcoholic. She was continuously in a blackout. And I learned at the time how to raise a brother and two sisters. I was the adult. 10 years old, we're in Reno, Nevada. She owns a beauty salon that is in a mafia-run establishment. And these people took care of us. They bought us a house. They bought us whatever we wanted. And we thought we were in heaven. As a 10-year-old, that was great. We had the run of the place until they wanted to launder money through her shop. And she told them no. She'd sell it to them, but she didn't want part of them. So they took everything we had, put us out in the street. And my grandmother, the remarkable woman she was, there was never a wall she could bounce into that she couldn't bounce off of and come out smelling like roses. We never knew we were homeless. I knew she was in a blackout drunk all the time, but that was her. That was life. And growing up, my life was good. I was a straight A student in school. I was on my way to becoming a preacher because God was my life. The Bible was the truth. And somehow through that part of my life, I decided I wanted to be a soldier. I was told I'd never do anything active because I had scarlet fever twice, and said that my life was over. I proved them wrong. I joined the Army. And the Army is where I met alcohol. My first incident with alcohol in the Army was we had a party in basic training. We was in a fenced-in compound. I was walking around with a gallon jug of beer, a half a gallon of whiskey. 18 years old, I was in heaven. I was a grown-up. I did what grown-ups did, except I passed out in a porta-john. And they all left. And I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of El Paso, Texas, in a fenced-in compound, having to go to a payphone, we had them back then, and make a collect call to Post and tell them they left me. Well, I got sanctioned. I got 15-15. They took pay from me and put me on extra duty. Well, alcohol was my friend. It made me happy. And it made me where I was not a loner no more. I could be around people. I could be accepted. Except alcohol took me to an excess. I could not stop drinking once I started. And then I would black out and have to live on what people told me I was doing. I didn't know if they were telling me the truth or not. I was in a blackout. I didn't know. I had to go off their word. We didn't have phones. We didn't have cameras. Well, in the process, I went to Germany for 3.5 years. And Germany has the best alcohol in the world. Germany also introduced me to hashish. The Turks there would bring in Turkish hash and Afghan hash, and I was in love. My first experience with drugs, and it mellowed me out. It didn't give me the hangover. And I learned that if I went and picked up the hash and brought it back to Post, I got mine for free, which is a very deadly combination because that leads to trafficking in illegal drugs, which I did basically for my whole career in the military I trafficked illegal alcohol to the Germans, illegal tobacco. It was part of my hustle. I did not make enough money from the military to drink like I wanted to drink. So I had to improvise. In the process, I got a DWI, or supposed DWI. I got pulled over by the German police. And I blew probably about a 2 point something. And they released me to the military police, which remarkably released me as sober and fit to drive. I thought I'd won a battle. I didn't have a problem with alcohol. My platoon sergeant didn't think I had one. Nobody in my unit thought I had one except for the first sergeant and the sergeant major. So in denial, I'd go to parties that I wasn't supposed to go to, and this E7, he's handing me alcohol, telling me, drink. You're not an alcoholic. You're a soldier. Well, that just gave me permission. And then I got out of the Army. And when I got out of the Army, I got heavily into selling marijuana. And in the process of the marijuana, I seen a guy that had tons of money. He had tons of respect. People feared him. And I said, dude, what do you got? What's the deal? He said, well, I sell this. And he showed me my first look of crystal meth, which back then it was phenyl 2-propanol dope. And I started making money. And then I decided I wanted to see what all my customers were talking about. So I tried my own product. I thought I was a drug dealer, but I was just a drug addict with a lot of drugs. I liked the high. I liked the energy. I liked the hallucinations. I like to be able to go to that realm and different dimensions and follow the voices because I knew they were there. I was in a psychosis. For years, I heard voices, but I couldn't tell if they were a real voice or if they were in my head. So I'd do more meth. And then I got to worried about everybody around me was after me, so I started taking acid too. Mixing acid with meth makes you a monster, a real monster, and people don't want to be around you. So I was happy. I was high, and I didn't have to deal with people. Well, I got so far out there, I had to leave the state of Oregon, and I went back to Arkansas, where I was raised. I was supposed to have been put in a mental hospital. I should have never come out of a straitjacket. But within a year of being off the drugs and cleaning my system, I was halfway back to normal. So that was an okay for me to start again. Well, I had this uncanny knack. I'd walk in and people would just hand me dope. It was like I had Slinger tattooed on my forehead, and they just give me ungodly amounts, not even knowing me. And I was like, dude, are you sure? And they would give it to me. And so I would do it. I wouldn't care if I owed money for it. I'd have a pile here one day and nothing the next day. And it didn't bother me because I knew I could always find more. And I was always chasing that ultimate uplift. I never liked downers. I did not like anything that put me in the ground. I wanted to be active. Well, in this process, I ended up getting severely drunk. I had 3.5 ounces of meth. I had 2 loaded guns. I ran a stop sign. Long story short, police officer next to my window. Now I am facing 3 life sentences at 30 years old. My first offense of ever being arrested. and I am shitting my pants. But it was nothing, as they say, it wasn't nothing but a step for a stepper. I signed for 10 years, did my time, got out, and started back again. Because my cliche was ricochet rabbit, fast as fast can be, you never catch me. Well, they kept catching me. But I never learned. And I met this marvelous woman in my meth lab, and somehow we got into church, and we both laid everything down at the altar. Well, in the process, we did a little dance around a fire and burned all my chemicals, everything I had to do with meth, and we were happy. We were the happiest people in the world because we had given up on the drug that was killing us. Fast forward 2011, 2010. Me and her are not getting along well. The psych meds I have got me a little bit loopy. So I start drinking again. I've got a bottle in my hand 24/7. I don't get out of my recliner except to go pee. I don't talk to my wife. I don't give her no attention. And in the process, I lost my wife. Well, when I lost her, reality hit, and I went on a run to dissolve myself. I did $5,000 worth of meth in a month and a half, had a bottle in my hand 24/7, had a pipe in my hand 24/7. The end result was I went in the bathroom to do my duties, and I filled a trash can full to the top with blood. 20 minutes later, I'm crawling across my floor. I fall across my sister-in-law and her old man in bed and tell them I'm dying. I need an ambulance. I'm laying on my living room floor, bleeding out. All of my bodily functions have evacuated. So I'm a mess. And all I can say is, I shit myself. And reality hit. And I scream out, God, I am sorry. I did not mean it. I don't want to die. Really, I don't want to die, God. Please help me. And the ambulance shows up. They take me to the hospital. 10 days later, and 24 units of blood, they saved me. I coded 4 times on the operating table. I've got 5 bands where they pinched off veins in my esophagus, and I've got a cauterized spot on the back of my stomach. That was a wake up. That was the last time I ever touched meth. They told me if I ever touched meth or drank again, I would die. Well, I challenged that aspect. I didn't do meth, but I started drinking again. And in the period of my drinking, I end up a maniac. I make threats that I'd have never made sober. Things that I can't express on this video because I just won't. It was so cruel. My soul will be damned to hell for. But in the process, I ended up in front of the Dallas Police Department with a bottle of tequila in one hand, a bottle of Fireball in the other hand, fighting 4 Dallas police officers. They were veterans. They knew me. So I got lucky. They took me to my apartment, opened the door, threw me inside, told me to go to bed. Best thing that ever happened to me. I woke up the next day. My whole apartment is full of puke. I I have a hangover I have never had before. And so I decided it is time for me to make a choice. So I found two people, one that I respected in this town. And I asked him, I says, I need to go to a group. And they pointed me in the right direction. But as I drove off, one of them says, he's not going. Well, that day changed my life. I showed up at a place 30 minutes late, started doing what I was told, and I am almost 3.5 years off of alcohol, off of meth since 2011. I'm alive. I can tell my story. I am part of the 2%. And if you don't know what the 2% are, there are 2% of us that get out of the meth addiction, that do not die, do not go through. You can edit that word out. We do not go through what everybody else goes through. We have a story. And our story is, there is hope. And if you ever doubt that you cannot get out of addiction, after watching my video, hit me up. I will talk to you. There is a way. And part of my sobriety from drugs and alcohol goes on, if I could help one person come out of the gutter and start walking straight, my life has a purpose. And it keeps me sober. And I've left a lot out on my story because there are groups that I can't mention. There are family members that I can't mention and things that we've done. But yeah, I have lived both lives. I lived the drug life, the good life. I've had both grown up, both sides. I should have never been statistically a drug addict. But I was curious. And the curiosity almost killed the cat. And basically, that's my story. Like I said, if you have any questions, if you want help, hit me up. Hit anybody else up on the SOAR videos, because they are warriors and they will fight for you, because that is their purpose of staying sober and clean through their addiction. Lack of spiritual connection? No, I don't. I had a spiritual connection. I had a connection with God. I had a good connection with the universe. But my curiosity overwhelmed that spirituality and that bond with God, because I want to know what the other side was like. Flat out, I was curious. It didn't have nothing to do with God, spirituality, anything. I was curious. And that curiosity got me. And I will say to anybody out there, if you're curious about it, run. Go get your plate of biscuits. They're a lot better for you to make you feel better. Because if you get started on this path, I have known so many that have not made it out. And it hurts to see one of your best friends disappear from the world because of lapse of judgment, thinking that they were big enough to do what's put in front of them. And we're losing too many brothers and sisters to addiction, whether they're alive or not. You know, I've seen more people that are not alive while they're alive. There's nothing in their eyes. There's no sadness. There's no hope. It is just a blank stare, because they're not there. They're not human. Once you do the drug, it breaks that bond of anything that is out there that can help you until you hit that spot. Because these drugs, they're powerful. They are mind altering. They make you think that you are God, or they make you think you're the devil, depending on what aspect or how you wake up in the morning. Who pissed you off? Well, you pissed me off, so I'm going to go get drunk. You pissed me off, I'm going to go get high. Yeah, just an excuse. And we all got them. I've used anger many times to get high or drunk. And it was, it's your fault, not my fault. You did it to me, so I am going to do what I want to do. And it almost killed me. Like I said, I coded 4 times on an operating table. And to see family hurting because they cannot do nothing because it was my choice. They could not force me to stop. And the pain in their eyes, I can still see. They're no longer here. But it's crazy. And the crazier aspect, getting back to the spirituality aspect, when I got out of the hospital and I got back to my home that was empty, no wife, nobody around, all of my loyal friends had robbed me. My house was trashed. I couldn't do nothing. I was in intensive care for 10 days. So they had a free-for-all. My house was a mess. All except for one part. My wife had written a note, a letter to God. And she said, God, please, I beg of you, make Russell so sick he can never do drugs again. Well, guess what? I got 2 full blood transfusions. Her prayer was answered. But it pissed me off. I blamed her for me going to the hospital when it was my fault. She shouldn't have prayed that. She prayed me into the hospital. And that made me angry. But in that process, there's another part. There's words I can't mention. But I was in a state where I had consumed 2, maybe 3 full prescriptions of psych meds. I consumed 2 full prescriptions of Valiums and consumed a full prescription of, what were them? They're old-time muscle relaxers they don't give out no more. And drank a bottle of whiskey. In the process, I made 2 phone calls that I don't remember even doing. But the worst feeling in the world is sitting in rigor mortis and watching the front door get kicked in. And there was my brother-in-law and 3 police officers and an ambulance. Saved my life again. It was one of my many trips to mental hospitals. I've been to 4 mental hospitals so far, maybe 5. I've had numerous attempts against me by myself. If I wasn't here, I wouldn't hurt. But the sad feeling of waking up after a failed attempt of doing something to yourself, that gets old. It's like I'm a failure. I can't even do this to myself. What is wrong with me? And my mind, it's not God that's saving me, because God didn't have nothing to do with it. I did it all on my own. As soon as I get out of my recovery, God ain't got nothing to do with it. I put him off to the side, which was a mistake, because he will let you know He is there, whether he's got to put you down on your knees forcefully or calmly in your mind. And I have problems with God, the God aspect, the higher power aspect, the whatever is out there that controls our life. On who are you to have an ego to make me suffer, to bring me to my knees, to have faith in you? That hurts. It really hurts. My spirituality, I have gotten away from that God aspect. I know there is something that controls me, that controls this universe, something that has put in the path life over death in my path, because I'm alive and I should not be. By all means in this world, I'm already 20 years past my expiration date. And now in my mind, I'm going to 100 because I either got a mission or a purpose. And hopefully, like I said, I can't tell you my whole story because there are parts that they're not camera friendly. They're not legal friendly. But I will say again that I was not a drug dealer like I thought I was. I was an addict and a junkie with an excessive amount of drugs, which will make you think you're a drug dealer, make you think you're bad, you're big, you got this, and they don't. And then one day you don't have it. And everybody's gone. Your friends were there just because you had the drugs. Your friends were there just because you had money. Your friends were there because you bought the alcohol. Your friends were there because you had a house and you had an extra bedroom. You had parties with no rules. But I found out when I was in that 10 days in intensive care and I got home, my friends were my worst enemies. And it's crazy that in that incident that I was alive. Because 2 weeks after that, God rest his soul, there was a man in the same predicament as me. But while he was laying on his living room floor, people were stepping over him and robbing him while he passed. That fucking hurts, People you thought were your friends, and they're letting you expire with not a care in the world except for taking everything you got. And he did. He didn't make it. He was one of the unlucky ones, or lucky ones. He got out. I always thought that portion of life, if it was finished, I was done and I was free. But I don't know. I don't know what's on the other side. I've tried many times to get there, but it's not meant for me. Actually, the bridges that I burned were good that they were burned. Family-wise, the people who had put me on the outside, they do accept me back now. They trust me. They can leave their car keys on the table. They can leave their wallet on the table. And they know when they turn around, it's going to be there. They know I'm not going to break into their house and steal everything they have to get me a fix. My grandmother was really the main one that I made amends with, because she's the one that raised me. She's the only one I really respected. Everybody else, in my mind, was not worth. Except for one person. And she knows. We've talked. Didn't basically make amends, but me and my ex-wife, are almost like best friends that don't talk. I've got 17 grandkids. I think 3 great grandkids now. And my ex-wife's men, they're not jealous of me. They don't care if I'm around because they know that we're just friends and there's nothing ever going to be there. And I'm there for my grandkids. And that is a joy in my life to be able to see my grandkids sober. You just brought it to my attention. I do have one amends I have to make to my granddaughter. And I never thought of it until just now. But after I got out of the hospital, there was a Halloween party. It was about this time. At my ex-wife's house, her new boyfriend, or my daughter's house, and her new boyfriend, everybody out there drinking. So I'm fresh out of the hospital. I start drinking. And baby girl Nicolette started crying. And I'm like, baby girl, what's wrong? She says, nothing. I said, yeah, something's wrong. I said, you can always tell me what is wrong with you, no matter what or how bad it is. And she says, well, mommy says, the doctor said that if you ever drink, that you will die. And I don't want to see that. That stabbed me in the heart so fucking bad. But it didn't stop me. That's the craziness about addiction and alcoholism. You can have the worst thing happen to you and you can feel sorry for a minute, but 9 times out of 10, it will not stop an addict or a drunk, an alcoholic, from stopping. And I don't understand that aspect of the addiction. I don't understand why it had more control of me than happy life, a clean life, fresh air, good food, water. Nothing in my system that alters my psyche, that will leave me defenseless against other people. Because I still feel that there's psychological attacks, there's spiritual attacks. There's something out there that wants me to relapse. There's something out there, there's opposite of the God force, there's the other force that would like to take every addict that is out there and give them their next fix so they're continued in their journey. I believe that in my heart. And that's a battle I got to fight every fucking day. But where I used to wake up pissed off because I was alive, and then I woke up, I am now happy that I wake up. I look forward to my first cup of coffee in the morning. I look forward. I drive in circles. I'm a disabled veteran, 100%. I have no agenda except for I drive in circles and I track down people with addictions and problems if I can find them. And I trick them. I tell them we're going to go get breakfast. But I don't tell them during the breakfast they're going to get a full-on lecture. They're going to get my life in a 5-minute session. I have ulterior motives. Like I said, if I can take one person off the street and put them on the path of sobriety, of non-addiction, that is a high that I can't express. You can't feel it unless you do it yourself. If you put out and you help save somebody from the life of addiction, the sadness, the despair, the confusion, and you give them 5 minutes of sanity, the light in their eyes is worth more than $1 million. And the sad part is, it's the ones that you think are on a good path, and you don't understand why they keep relapsing. But I'm not in their mind. I can't. All I can do is give them tools, give them a listening ear. Tell my story. Off camera, I could tell you a lot more. But like I said, there's a lot that I won't say on camera. Partly because I'm ashamed of what I have done. Partly because there's probably still statute of limitations that hadn't run out. As part of the drug life, as part of the alcohol life. You do criminal things to get to where you want to get. With no conscience. And that is the sad part, that the drugs take away your conscience. They take away all plausible thinking of good. And the only thought is, where am I going to get my next bump? And I still don't understand it. But I know I got away. I was afraid. It scared the hell out of me dying. Just knowing that my life force was fading and there was nothing I could do about it. I was not in control. Definitely not in control. But like I said, the God Spirit or whoever out there, they answered my prayer. And they gave me 24 units of blood, which basically in a human man is 2 full blood transfusions. He took all the dirt, all the chemicals, everything that I had inside of me, and flushed it out twice and renewed me with clean blood. Which, in reality, I don't think that I would have stopped my addiction if not for that double flush. To be honest, I don't think. But he cleaned everything out of me, so I no longer had that craving. I never had that little lagging part. And yeah, probably off subject and stuff, but yeah, it's, for me, I have trouble with the spiritual or the God part. It's a battle I fight every day. I can talk to you. I can open up the Bible. You quote a verse, and I'll open the Bible, turn right to it, and I'll explain it to you. I can go from the start to the finish of the Bible. I can preach you a sermon that would make you cry in tears and give your whole life force over to God. But I don't believe it. And I can't follow something 100% that I don't believe. I can't. But I know that force out there, whatever it is, saved me, which really confuses me when I doubt him so much. But he never doubted me. And yeah, it's a fight inside of me. One demon fighting with an angel. So far, the angels are winning because I'm alive and I'm here talking. Yes. Something I'm extremely proud of in my recovery, that in the past 2 years, I was able to buy 9 acres of land in Arkansas. I have a steady address. Actually, I got multiple addresses because I travel. But I have a steady address that I can call mine. Nobody can take it away from me. Nobody can kick me out of it. Granted, there's no building there yet. But I'm able to basically manage my finances because all my money's not going to drugs. all my money's not going to alcohol. Because Lord, let me tell you, $3,000 in your pocket, that first shot of whiskey at a bar, the whole town's happy because you done bought them drinks after you done hit your sixth, seventh shot because you don't know where you're at. You're the life of the party. Then you wake up, open up your wallet, not even $1. And then you try to calculate where all that money went. I don't have that problem no more. I have a handle on, well, I'd like to say I have a handle on my finances. There's still a little bit of discrepancies. But I don't want for nothing no more. And that is a proud moment. I am able at times to put a hand forward to help people without asking anything in return. And to be able to help somebody in need without any thought of getting anything back, no ulterior motives, just giving because it's needed. I'm proud of that. I'm happy that I'm able to find somebody on the side of the street, pick them up, take them, and feed them a meal. I don't like bragging about it, but it is the best feeling in the world to see somebody that hasn't eaten in a couple of days being treated to a meal, and they, from a stranger they don't even know. And the confusion in their eyes, they're like, why me? Well, why not you? I was you. I was that homeless person on the side of the street with a pipe in his hand, sleeping on people's floors, covering up in the kitchen with a kitchen rug, no blanket. Go to the next house. I was that person. And now I can help them people that were me. And it's, unless you have ever been able to unconditionally help somebody and feel that feeling of love, I can't explain it to you. Until you see somebody's heart melt and their anger fade away for 30 minutes during a meal, and see the happiness and the joy because nobody's judging them. And yeah, my finances out of my addiction, yeah, I'm proud because I used to be a check bouncing I never considered myself a thief, but if you left something in my grasp and I needed it to get high, it was mine. No doubt about it. I'm not that person no more. Like I said, you can leave your keys. You can leave your house unlocked. You can leave me watching your house and know that everything will be there when you get home. I have. There are certain people that I refuse to go around. I know their situation. I know they're not clean. And if it was in their mindset and they could get me to take that first hit, they would. I've gotten to where I can go into a bar/restaurant and eat a meal and drink water or pop, and it doesn't bother me. Whereas before, the first thing I would do, I would grab a beer or a shot. And so yeah, that's a milestone. I don't look at the alcohol when I'm in there. I'm looking at the menu, which is great. I do have to set boundaries with certain family members because even them knowing my story, I came into town here about a week and a half ago out of Arkansas. I brought one of my nephews up here. I ran into another nephew And I started scolding him because somebody had informed me that he was messing with the blues. And I confronted him flat out. Are you on fentanyl? And he laughed and giggled. He said, no, I'm not on fentanyl. I'm doing meth. This kid has been highly against meth his whole life. Anybody that dealt with meth was bad, and he stayed away from. And now he's laughing and joking that he's doing meth. And then he asked me, knowing that I've been clean since 2011, he says, I know people. I can get you some. You want to go have fun? I almost had a heart attack. My baby nephew, who has been 100% against this drug because of our family, is now part of the system. And that hurt. I wanted to hit him. My first instinct was to swing because he disrespected me. But I had to step back, and I realized that that is not him talking. That is the addict talking. That is the drug talking. He is not in control. And so I don't go around him. I don't talk to him. Other family members that I know are involved in illicit things, I do my best to stay away from them. Because I know how easy it would be for that little devil in my mind says, just a little bit won't hurt you. Just one. You can walk away. No, I can't. I know for a fact that first hit, I'm going to be out there on the street with no money, no car, no house. You asked me before about the proud things. I'm in the process right now of renting a place out of town that before in my addiction I'd have never been able to do. I'd have never had the money to come up front to rent a place, let alone turn on my utilities. That is a milestone. But as for the boundaries, yes, I do. I know me. And I know all it would take is that one little suggestion to convince me. And I'm not strong enough in my recovery. And I know that for a fact, that if it was put in front of me, that I probably could not say no. So I stay away from the situations and the places. On the other aspect, I will say that I am called California sober. I do medicate with marijuana. But in the process, I no longer take any pharmaceuticals for the past year. Anything the doctor prescribed, I do not take. I gave up all my psych meds. I gave up all my diabetes medicines. And in the process of the medications for my diabetes, I started eating right. I started doing maybe 15 minutes a day of exercise. And if you are diabetic, let me tell you, them pills they're giving you is killing you. Flat out. All you need to do is exercise. Be active. Control your diet. And you can reverse your diabetes. And the sad thing about it is, a lot of people in alcoholism and drug addiction end up being diabetics. I can't explain why, but maybe our body breaks down different once we get the drugs and alcohol in our system. But yeah, it's another part of my life that I have changed. I was type 2 diabetic almost to type 1. And right now I'm walking healthy. But like I said, I eat good. And I watch my sugar intakes. I watch all these chemicals that are in some of these foods. And I try to exercise. Not every day. Not anymore. But a little bit of calisthenics. you know, arm movements, uh, running in place, walk around the house, walk in circles a little bit, get healthy. My message to you, the addict who still suffers, there is a way, there is a purpose. You're not alone. There are millions of us out there. Even though society wants to turn their head and say we do not exist, that we're just lowlifes, we're just drug addicts, we're just alcoholics, we're not worth the breath that we breathe. Well, let me tell you, you are, we are, and there is hope. Like I said, if you have a doubt and you need help, go through these SOAR videos. Go through each and every one of them. Find the one that relates to you. Reach out in the comments. And I guarantee you they will get back to you. Because that is their life mission, is to take one other addict and put them in the fold of non-addicts. We are here. We will help. We don't have all the answers, but we can show you where you can find the answers. To my family members who have passed that are still alive, to my friends, family, associates, I have lived a life of sadness, addiction, despair, psychosis, heavily medicated at times to stop the psychosis. But anybody out there that during my addiction that I do not realize, that I do not remember that I have harmed in any way, I'm sorry. It was not me. It was the demon controlled by the drugs. Was I aware of it at the time? Sometimes, yes. But right now, I'm just asking for a blank forgiveness for my actions. And if you still look at me the way that you did when I was an addict, I have changed. And to anybody else out there, like I said, if you need help, reach out. We're here. Who knows? I might even drive to you. I like to drive. I can't guarantee it, but it's a possibility. And I'm open to discussion. Anybody that wants to talk, hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on social media. I'm easy to find. But yeah, I'll be there.